A couple of weeks back, I did a video about the top 5 budget phones under $500, and a lot of you watched it. Enjoyed it, and even bought some of those phones, which is great. Then I did a poll not too long after that and asked what price phones you guys owned, and there's a lot of you out there with phones under $300. So I figured, why not do a video about that? Seems like a good idea, but I'm not going to do it alone. I mean, I don't know enough about those phones, but I have a friend that does. Actually looking forward to this. Haven't done a collab in quite a while. So we're going to do a little collaboration today as we talk about some of the best budget phones under $300 that you can get today. And I'll tell you all about it right after this.
This is, you listening to Travis.
What up, players? Welcome back. And for all you new people, welcome. My name's Travis and I do tech videos every single week and have a blast doing them. If that sounds like fun to you, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Anything I talk about will be in the description below. But for now, let's just get into the video. Now, as I said, the video I did with budget phones under $500 did pretty well, but I actually saw a couple of comments come up time and time again saying that $500 and under isn't really budget. So I did a poll, and a large percentage of you have phones that are under $300, which kind of shocked me a little bit. I mean, you're watching my videos where frequently I talk about flagship level phones, and I just want to get some value out there to you. So I went and teamed with my friend Kevin Breeze here on YouTube. He's really an expert when it comes to budget phones, and we're going to talk about 5 different phones under $300. Now, all of these phones can be bought on Amazon. I'll leave links in the description below. And also you can check out Kevin's channel in the link in the description below. He's going to go into some detail about each individual one after I go ahead and introduce them. Now, these 5 phones were picked between me and him. I've actually reviewed one of them on the channel, but most of these have been reviewed on his channel, so make sure you check that out. So let's just get into this. For $300, what kind of smartphone can you get? Well, surprisingly, a lot of value now. As we're into 2020, there's a lot of technology that can be built into a sub $300 phone. And 2 of these phones are from Samsung. Who'da thunk it? First up is the Moto G Power. It's touting up to 3 days of battery life, which is crazy because it has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Again, under $300, this is pretty nuts. Dual stereo speakers, a 6.4-inch display, 4 gigabytes of RAM, which by the way, all of these phones have 4 gigabytes of RAM, so I might not even bother saying that anymore. They all have the same amount of RAM, so just get over that. By the way, I like to mention the fact that that isn't really that big of a deal. As a matter of fact, I did a video very recently about a $250 super smartphone, flagship level smartphone on this channel. I'll leave a link in the description below and in the end screen. These budget phones are a lot more powerful than you might think. And most importantly, this phone is only one of 2 in this entire list that is unlocked across all carriers. That means CDMA and GSM. That means AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, it doesn't matter. They got you covered. Now, a lot of these other phones are GSM only. So this one and only one other one will work across all of those. If you have Sprint or Verizon, you can get one of these. But you know what? I think my man Kevin Breeze can tell you more about it than I can. He actually has one.
What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin Breeze here, and thank you, Travis, for having me as a guest on the channel. I've never seen somebody play as on one channel, so you've built quite an audience here, Travis. Now, there are 3 things about the Moto G Power that really make this phone stand out to me. The first thing, of course, is that really massive 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery. And there are 2 main benefits with that very large battery that I can think of. Now, the first benefit is probably pretty obvious, and that is that you're going to be getting very good battery life. Getting through a day or even 2 will not be an issue with this phone, which is something that's very rare in general, and especially rare with budget devices. But the second benefit with having a battery so large on this phone, and this is something that is actually more important than you might think, is that the battery degradation will not be nearly as noticeable. Now, with any smartphone out there, whether it's from Apple, Samsung, LG, Motorola, it doesn't matter who, after about a year or so, you're going to notice that the battery on your device is not going to be able to hold a charge quite as well. Now, that will continue to be the case here with the Moto G Power because there's nothing different about the actual battery technology. But since the battery already is probably bigger than you need it to be with this phone, as time goes on and the battery holds less and less of a charge, it's not going to be nearly as noticeable as it might be with another device that has a normal sized battery. So the point is that if you're looking to get a budget phone with the maximum level of longevity, then I would say the Moto G Power is probably the best option for you. Because beyond the issue of potential slowdowns, for me at least, the #1 biggest motivator for me to upgrade to a new device is because the battery doesn't hold a charge as well. So again, since we're already getting a massive oversized, in my opinion, 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery with the phone, then you're gonna be set for the long term. The second benefit with this device definitely has to be the cameras on here. So we are getting a triple camera setup here with the phone. We have a 16 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, and a 2 megapixel macro camera to take close-up photos. And from my experience, the quality from these cameras has been quite good, especially for a phone in this price range. And then finally, the third main selling point for the Moto G Power, in my opinion, is the processor. So I'm really glad that Motorola did give this the Qualcomm Snapdragon 665. It's definitely quite powerful. Now, it's not as powerful as a flagship processor like the Snapdragon 865 would be, but the 665 certainly will get the job done for the majority of people out there. So I would say that this phone really is the full package as far as giving you a very practical form factor with practical features as well. There really are no gimmicks with the Moto G Power, and it's really a nice device for someone that just wants a good, reliable phone.
Next up is the Samsung A51, and I have actually reviewed this on the channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. This is a great phone. Actually, it was one of the best-selling phones for Samsung this year. Really great value for money. Now, some of these phones come in under $300 and some even under $200. It just depends on when you catch them on sale, so you might find some of these for really cheap. Of course, the updated prices will be in the link in the description. The A51 is kind of their mid-range of their mid-range, somewhere in the middle. And you get a huge screen with the A51, a 6.5-inch screen, of course, with quad cameras, 48 megapixel, 12 megapixel, 5 megapixel, and a 5 megapixel with flash. Of course, your selfie camera's 32 megapixels. Again, 4 gigs of RAM and 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, the one thing that's really great about all of these phones, all of them have huge batteries. 4,000 milliamp hour is the minimum, and a couple that have 5,000. And of course, you're getting that glass-stick back, the Samsung quality you're absolutely used to. Kevin, what else do we need to know about the A51?
The Samsung Galaxy A51 is officially the best-selling smartphone in the world for 2020. Let's take a pause and take that in. Seriously though, this phone has been a top seller for Samsung and for several very good reasons. Now, there are 3 things about this device that especially make it stand out to me. The first thing is that we're getting a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display here on the device. So it's gonna be really good for consuming content, whether it's videos, social media, browsing the web. Everything is going to look really good in this large display, and you're going to get very good viewing angles as well. In addition to that, the actual design here of the phone is very similar to Samsung's latest flagships. We're getting very small bezels all around, and we are getting a hole punch for the front-facing camera. So despite this being a budget device, it doesn't look like one. It really does look like it could be potentially a flagship. The second benefit with the Galaxy A51 is how much storage we're getting here with the phone. Now, this device features 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and if that's not enough for you, it also supports microSD card expansion. This device features more internal storage with its base model than the iPhone 11 does at its base model. I know, pretty sad, right? But shout out to Samsung for giving us a lot of value here. And then finally, the third highlight I'd like to point out about the phone is that we are getting a quad camera setup on the back. Again, continuing along with Samsung's design trends they've really been focusing on this year, we do have a rectangular camera module. So we have a 48 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, we have a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode, and we have a 5 megapixel macro camera. Another cool thing about this device as well is that you can record video at 4K at 30 FPS. Now, I remember not too long ago, 4K was a feature that you could only get with some of the latest flagship phones. But now it's trickled its way down into budget and mid-range devices.
Now, if you don't want to spend quite that much and you still want a Samsung phone, the A21s is a newer phone, hasn't been out for very long, and has some pretty darn good specs as well. This thing is rocking a 6.5-inch display, of course, 4 gigs of RAM, 4 cameras topping out at a 48 megapixel for the main, a headphone jack, baby, let's go, and a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. This thing is gonna last you all day and a half. Now, most people that'll be buying a phone like this are probably gonna get 2 or 2.5 days out of it for 5,000 milliamp hours. Bro, that's a lot of milliamp hours.
As Travis mentioned, we are gonna be getting a very large, beefy 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery with the Galaxy A21s. That does put it at the same battery capacity as the Moto G Power. Now, I do want to point out that not only did the A21s launch very recently, but the A21 launched very recently as well. Now, both of these devices do share a lot of similarities. However, the A21s is a better value in pretty much every way. Now, the regular A21 is being offered at a variety of different carriers, and that's probably where most people that get this phone are going to be getting it at. But what's cool about the A21s is that we are actually getting better cameras, we're getting a bigger battery, and we're getting double the amount of internal storage at 64 gigabytes. But I would say that with the A21s, the big battery is certainly one highlight. Another highlight definitely has to be the large display at 6.5 inches. Now, this display is PLS TFT, so not quite as good as the Super AMOLED that we're getting with the A51, but it's still going to be really good for viewing content due to how large it is, and honestly, it still does look very decent. Now, of course, I always prefer AMOLED over anything else, but I could certainly live with this. Another cool thing too about the A21s is that we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM, and we're getting the Samsung Exynos 850 processor. Now, in every situation, the A51 is a better choice than this phone, but you are going to be saving at least a little bit of money. And then having the quad camera setup with a 48 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera are always great as well. It's certainly really nice to be able to have all these different cameras on here on the phone so that you're able to experiment with them and really take your mobile photography to the next level. In my opinion, I feel like if you find yourself using many of these camera features quite a bit, then you'll be able to justify potentially getting a flagship in the future. Now, I'd imagine that many people out there will be completely satisfied with the cameras on here anyway. And for the most part, the enhanced camera features that you're gonna be getting with flagship phones like the S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra, for example, are really for that small group of people out there that really have extremely high expectations and really want the best of the best. But I feel like for the vast majority of people out there, a device like the A21s will certainly serve their needs and they'll be very happy with it.
Next up is the Blue G90 Pro. Now, this just came out, and Blue's been around for a long time selling budget phones. Some are hit, then some are miss. This one's a hit. Starting out with a 6.5-inch display, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, 48 megapixel main camera with a wide and a macro camera as well. Now, Blue, again, has been hit or miss, but my boy Kevin has a lot to say about this phone. It's brand new, and I trust his opinion on this. So it's in the list because it's one of the ones you should consider. Kevin, take it away.
Blue is back at it again with yet another budget device, and this one is one of their most powerful phones yet. This is the Blue G90 Pro. Now, I did get this device very recently, so I do want to use it a bit more before giving you my final thoughts about it. But I'll tell you what, so far, so good. And in addition to that, this phone has quite a bit about it that actually makes it pretty unique. The most unique thing about the Blue G90 Pro definitely has to be the processor inside. Now, this device features the MediaTek Helio G90T processor. And look, I know everyone has a little bit of a bad taste when it comes to MediaTek because they didn't create that good of processors in the past, but they've really come a long way in a very short period of time. And the Helio G90T is definitely a very good example of how MediaTek is really redefining themselves. Now, if you didn't know this, there's actually a small list of different processors that work with Fortnite, and the Helio G90T is one of them. So despite this being a budget phone, you can play Fortnite on here, and Blue is very proud of that. In fact, on the back of the box, they actually have the Fortnite logo, if you can kind of see it right there. And yeah, that must be a very major selling point that they feel is important with this phone. And I totally agree with it, as I'm someone that does play Fortnite quite a bit. So it is very exciting that you can play Fortnite on this device. Now, I know there has been some controversy involving the Fortnite mobile app, as it has been removed from the Google Play Store due to some disagreements when it comes to in-app purchases. But one of the great things about Android, which really comes in handy in this situation, is that you can easily sideload Fortnite if you want to go that route. In fact, you can go over to the Epic Games website and directly install Fortnite to put it here on this phone. So if you're into Fortnite and you're looking for a budget device, then the Blue G90 Pro is certainly one that you might want to put on your list. Another interesting thing about this phone is the color. It does come in purple, so you don't see too many smartphones that are available in purple. So if you like that color, then that's another good thing about this device. This phone also gives us a really beefy battery as well. It has a 5100 milliamp hour internal battery, actually giving it the largest battery out of all the phones featured in this video. It's pretty interesting how the mid-range and budget phones seem to have larger batteries than many of the flagships that have come out recently. Now we're getting micro SD card expansion with this phone, which is of course a great thing, but we're also getting 128 gigabytes of internal storage. So that's quite a bit of internal storage as well. So this phone really is an excellent option, probably the best option of the devices featured in this video when it comes to gaming, because by having so much internal storage, you'll be able to install a variety of different games, even large games, and it's going to take a while for you to really fill up that storage. So I definitely recommend considering the blue G90 Pro.
And lastly, a phone from LG Stylo 6, baby. Let's bring a pen in the game. You know I'm a Galaxy Note fan, so I love the S Pen. And we're gonna give you a phone here for under $300 that comes with a stylus. It's the LG Stylo 6.
The LG Stylo 6 is definitely a very magical phone. And the main selling point with this device really has to be the stylus. Now, the stylus this year actually features a new design where it features a click-in, click-out design, similar to the way it is on the various Note phones. So, the stylus itself definitely is not nearly as advanced as what you're getting with the various Galaxy Note devices, but that makes sense because this phone is significantly more affordable. Now you can use the stylus for general navigation on here, but they also have a variety of different apps here as well that are specifically made to be used with the stylus. So if you are looking for a smartphone with a stylus, but you're not looking to spend too much, then the Stylo 6 is certainly a device that you should consider. Now, in addition to having the stylus, there are some other benefits with this phone as well that do make it stand out from the various competition. This device features an extremely large display. In fact, the display on here is 6.8 inches. Now, perfect timing for this video because I did get the Note 20 Ultra in today, and you can see here's the two phones, and they're pretty much about the same size. So it's not like with the Stylo 6 you're getting a smaller phone because it's more affordable. It's literally the same size as Samsung's most expensive Note device. Now the biggest limitation in my opinion with the Stylo 6 is that the processor is not too powerful here with the phone, but there are plenty of other advantages to make up for that, and I also like that we are getting 64 gigabytes of internal storage here with the phone as well. But it's been a pleasure to be here on Travis's channel today to offer you some of my advice and my opinions regarding these various affordable phones. But let's have Travis summarize everything that we've gone over in this video.
Thanks, Kevin. That's my dude. I appreciate you very much. Check him out. Link in the description below. But let me just tell you, there's so much value under $300 right now. You can go out there and get a phone that's going to last you a day and a half, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. There are $1,000 phones that do not have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, if you're watching this and you don't know what that means, it means all day battery life. You can tweet and Instagram and Tinder all to your life. And you never run out of battery, you're gonna be fine. But the value is there. Leave me a comment below which one is the one you wanna pick up today here under $300 budget smartphones. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, by the way, if you haven't seen my under $500, it's actually right here. And I have some other videos right over here. So make sure you check those out as well. I'll see you again real soon. Peace and love.